Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om 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 Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Hare Krishna. So today we're reading from the Shri Bhagavad Gita as it is, second chapter, verse 27. Tasya hi dhruvo mrityu dhruvam janma mritasya cha tasmad api apadiharyete natvam sochitum arhasi. Jatasya, of one who has taken his birth.
Of one who has taken his birth.
He certainly. Dhruvaha, a fact. Mrityuhu, death. Dhruvam, it is also a fact. Janma, birth. Mrityasya, of the dead. Cha, also. Tasmat, therefore. Apariharye, of that which is unavoidable. Arte, in the matter. Na, do not. Tvam, you. Shochitum, to lament. Arhasi, deserve. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivendanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. One who has taken birth is sure to die, and after death one is sure to take birth again. Therefore, in the unavoidable discharge of your duty, you should not lament. Purport.
One has to take birth according to one's activities of life. And after finishing one term of activities, one has to die to take birth for the next. In this way, one is going through one circle of birth and death after another without liberation. This cycle of birth and death does not, however, support unnecessary murder, slaughter and war. But at the same time, violence and war are inevitable factors in human societies for keeping law and order. The Battle of Kurukshetra, being the will of the Supreme, was an inevitable event, and to fight for the right cause is the duty of the Kshatriya. Why should he be afraid or aggrieved at the death of his relative, since he was discharging his proper duty? He did not deserve to break the law, thereby becoming subjected to the reactions of sinful act of which he was so afraid. By avoiding the discharge of his proper duty, he would not be able to stop his death of his relatives, and he would be degraded due to his selection of the wrong path of action.
Hare Krishna, thank you. Please join me. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivendanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vasari Gaura Bhaktivendanta Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Jai, Haribol. Welcome to our temple and tonight's Bhagavad Gita class. And let's dive straight in what we've been given here. Because afterwards we want also to do a small ceremony, because today is a very special day. It's not only Halloween. No, it's also the appearance day of Radha. Exactly. So today's class is going to be very short. We're going to explain more later. It's going to be very short, but let's go straight to the essence, because we don't know even, we're not as fortunate as Parikshit Maharaj, for example, who knew that he only had 7 days to live. We don't even know if we have 7 minutes. So, okay, I think we can though get to the essence in 7 minutes by the help of Srila Prabhupada. So who is talking to whom here? Who is saying, for one who has taken birth, death is certain? Who's saying this? Krishna. Okay, who's Krishna?
The Supreme Personality of Godhead.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead is talking here to Arjuna on the battlefield, and he is saying, for one who has taken birth, death is certain, and for one who is dead, birth is certain. Therefore, in the unavoidable discharge of your duty, Arjuna, you should not lament. This means that Arjuna is lamenting, and he's not only lamenting. The first chapter of the Bhagavad Gita in the ancient language in Sanskrit is actually called Vishada Yoga. So this is the yoga of despair, because here Arjuna is totally broken into pieces. He doesn't know, does he have to go left, does he have to go right, forth? No, he doesn't want to. He doesn't want to fight. He doesn't want to kill his relatives because he's very attached to them. Yes? And so he is confused. He is crying, he is lamenting. And this is interesting because also in the previous verse, Krishna says, do not lament. Do not lament. Okay, if we can really imagine how it must be like to be on this battlefield, we will surely also lament. Because it's a terrible situation that Arjuna is in here. And also Paul said this last week. It's not only a story, right? Some people said, oh, but this ancient story, it's not a story, this is actually history. This really happened 5,000 years ago, and it is a metaphorical allegory to our present life that we have here right now. Maybe Sudevi is not sitting on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, but I think you're certainly sitting on the battlefield of life. We're here in the middle of the week, in the middle of life, as it happens. Lots of crazy things are happening every day, every second. So how do we actually prepare for our duty? How do we go out there and fight? How do we know what is right and what is wrong? How do we stay connected? I think that's why we're all here. We all want to know this. And Arjuna is in this prime position, in the pole position of having Krishna talk to him personally, which is amazing. And what you said last week, and I found this very nice, is that the Kauravas, the greedy cousins, whom the Pandavas, the pious cousins, have to fight against, are not only people, but they actually are symbolic for Kama, Lobha, for exactly, for all these anarthas, for these 6 enemies that we all have in our hearts, that we're all fighting with in this life presently as conditioned souls. And so these are, can you help me? Kama. Yeah. So Kama is, for those who don't know Sanskrit so well, lust. Exactly. Exactly. And not only the sexual desire that we might associate with, but also the very subtle desires that we have, oh, I want just to be famous or something, So yeah, there is Kama, lust, Krodha. I'm dealing with this one too. I don't know about you. Sometimes I get really angry. Yeah, because we get angry. We're conditioned. We're not the center of the universe, and that's why we get angry. Yes. Who else do the Kauravas represent? There's Lobha. Yes, because this whole war started because they wanted to get the throne of Hastinapur. This is why they broke out this like world war. It's a world war. This is the Mahabharata. It's an epic world war, right? Because they're greedy. They want the power. They want the throne. They want all the wealth. You know, they're greedy. Lobha. What else is there? Moha. Illusion. Illusion. Lobha. Yes, they're all illusion. By thinking also, they are the body. Right? We come to this later. Mada, madness. I get all bewildered. And Matsarya, which is envy. Yes. Okay, so the Kauravas here, they stand for these not so nice things that we all have in our hearts. So when Arjuna now is asked to kill the Kauravas, the opposing side, his relatives, he cannot. And you might wonder, but why? You know, of course we want to get rid of these like not so nice things in our heart, and also in real life, yeah. The Kauravas, what did they do? What does Srila Prabhupada say here? Srila Prabhupada actually says that according to Vedic injunctions, it is perfectly fine to kill an aggressor who, somebody remembers, who kidnaps a wife. And they did this, right? They did this. They kidnapped Draupadi, who sets the house on fire, and it's perfectly fine if you kill this person.
According to the Brahmin wives.
Huh?
Disobey the Brahmin wives.
Yes, to kidnap one's wife, exactly. Do you remember? There are like six offenses where it's perfectly fine for, I would say, like the victim to actually kill the perpetrator. It's perfectly fine. This is Vedic injunctions. And if you're more interested into, but why does God say it's okay to kill? You know, what does religion, peace, and love have to do with like violence? Yes, look into the Shastras. There is more evidence on why sometimes war is necessary. Because here, we're not only fighting about planet Earth, you know, who gets to reign for the next 150 years or so, or 150,000 years, but we're talking about what all the big epics in this world are talking about. It's the fight for good against the evil. Right? And so now Arjuna is asked to actually root out the evil. Yes? So he's asked to actually kill his relatives, because these relatives happen to be on the side of evil. Let's put it like black and white, okay? Although it's not always black and white, but just to make it very obvious. So why is he lamenting? What's his problem? Like, what's his problem? You know, like, they kidnapped his wife, they tried to kill him and his brothers, and he is saying, oh, but I feel so compassionate towards them. You know? I mean, in a way, it's good that you're compassionate because you have a very kind heart, Arjuna, but you have to do your duty. This is what Krishna is saying here in 27. He is saying, therefore, in the unavoidable discharge of your duty, you should not lament. Yes, because his duty is
To fight.
to fight. Exactly. He's a kshatriya. He was born to fight. He's a prince in the royal order. He was trained. He's he's actually the best. Archery master. But he is attached, and I think in the next 2 minutes I want to really get down to how we are attached and why we are suffering, because of course the Vedas are the root of all knowledge there is, because Veda means knowledge, but then you have other traditions that come trickling down from it, which is also Buddhism. And in Buddhism, I don't know if some of you came through the path of Buddhism towards Krishna-consciousness, because there are many different ways. I remember, like, I was very interested in Buddhism, like 3 or 4 years ago. And there you have the Four Noble Truths, which is, one of them is saying there is suffering. Okay, yes, there is a lot of suffering. And there is a way out of suffering. Yes, and the way out of suffering is the Eightfold Path, and so forth and so on. But basically, to make it easier, to kind of like wrap it up, the way out of suffering is to stop our attachments. the attachment that we have to this material world, to material things. You know, we think, oh no, I'm a Paramahamsa, I'm totally fine. But no, we're not. We're not. There are very deep-rooted anarthas, very deep-rooted desires that we have, and they're not spiritual. And we, now, like Arjuna, we have to fight against them. This is where spiritual life starts. Yeah, where you first realize there is a difference between the body, the material thing, and the spiritual thing, the jiva, the who I am actually. And also that you cannot just go off into the mountains and just be with yourself and then just kind of wait till everything is over and then you go back to Krishna. No, I think what is really important, since we all want to like open our ears, we want to open up our minds, right? Krishna consciousness is like the most far out state of mind you can imagine, and state of being. And we are here because we want to be honest with ourselves, right? And so we have to be really honest, even if you're in Krishna consciousness for 10 years, for 20 years, for 50 years even. Congratulations, you know, amazing. But upon the moment that you leave this body, which will eventually happen, death is not the wonder pill. You know, it's not like, oh, everything will be fine. Everything will be fine. And then there will be Krishna. No. You know, Krishna also says in 8.6, let's have a look what Krishna is saying here to us. Krishna. 8.6. Yes, that the moment of death will certainly happen, yes? And Krishna says here in 8.6, whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, O son of Kunti, that state he will attain without fail. And so, let's be honest with ourselves. What are we thinking about the whole day? Paying the rent? How does my sari look? But are we really thinking about Krishna? Is this really Krishna consciousness? Or are we kind of just like doodling around? You know? Because sooner or later death will come to us too. You know, it will not just happen to the neighbors and to some people in some faraway country on the news. It will happen to us. And then, wow, this is like the biggest test in life that we actually have to pass. You know, of course you have to pass your driving license. I wish you good luck with this, but you know, this is the biggest test. This is why we're studying. This is why we want to like soak in all this beautiful knowledge so we can really remember Krishna more and more, so that at the point of death we are ready. Krishna, then we're ready. You know? And okay, this is like a freestyle class. I have so many notes here, but okay. So what I found very interesting is also Vedic cosmology, how this universe is like made up, basically, right? So we have these like 14 like planetary systems, these like 14 worlds, well, yeah. And then it is actually said in the Bhagavatam that the universe, I mean this universe where we are in is actually really small, because our Brahma only has 4 heads. There are universes in the material world where the Brahma has like thousands, hundreds of heads, you know, and this is just, I mean, okay, let's not imagine this right now. But okay, so we have our universe, which we cannot even like imagine. And then around this, let's say this is our little material universe. There's you, there's me. And there are 7 layers around this material universe, and then the spiritual world starts. Yes? So these 7 layers, it is actually said, I don't have the quote for you here, the Shastra, but it is made out of the prime material elements, right? And the first one was earth, right? So you have like one big fat layer of earth. I mean, that's what I imagine. And it's actually said that the next layer, which is I think water, yeah, is even, I think like 10 times thicker than the first layer. And then the next layer is 10 times thicker than, and so we're basically wrapped in this big egg in a way, in this like, material universe. We're like really well packaged. And when you, as a spiritual soul, and there's a very nice story also in the Srimad Bhagavatam about Gop Kumar, he's traveling through all the planetary systems, but he wants his Krishna, he wants Krishna in Gokul, right? And so, but he goes through all the different planetary systems, and it's basically that we also have to go through this layer, you know, eventually. I mean, that's what I imagine, but this is how it must be. Because you as a jiva, you know, you have to go from one spot to the other. And of course it's going to be like some like yogic magic in a way, you know, it's going to be like very fast, but in a way you still have to travel. You know, and there's like a children's game in Germany, and it's called Ich packe meinen Koffer. Right, so I pack my suitcase, and it's about like remembering. So I pack my suitcase, and I take a book, and you take your suitcase, and you take a book, and you take something else. Right, but we have to reverse this. You know, we have to leave behind all the suitcases, all the shoes, all the books, all the friends. Although I think we see each other again in the spiritual world, right? So basically, we have to unwrap. Right? We have to leave behind this skirt, because this skirt is going to be, I think, done in like 20 years, 10 years. We have to leave behind this body, because at least like in 100 years, I don't think I will be here. I don't know. You know, not in this situation. Maybe, I don't know, 100. Okay. No, Kali Yuga, it's very minimum Earth life expectancy. But do you know what I'm saying? I'm telling you all these big stories because basically we have to get rid of our material attachments. And here the material attachments are right in front of Arjuna, like our prime character, and these are Dronacharya and Bhishma. So this is the teacher, the guru, and the grandfather. Yeah, so like a very dear family member. And so these two, they stand for material attachments, right? Because eventually, if the soul, and the soul is eternal, if the soul is really eternal, then Arjuna should just enjoy basically this Kurukshetra Leela that Krishna has prepared here for every one of us to learn. But why is Arjuna lamenting? Because he is attached. Okay, and now I made an inventory list, and I don't think we spent the next 2 hours on it, about material attachment. Like really make a list of your attachments. It's interesting, really go deeper, you know? It's very nice, it's perfect if you're chanting 60 rounds of the Maha-Mantra, if you're initiated, if you follow the 4 regulative principles, if you chant 1 round of the Maha-Mantra, if you come to the temple, if you're interested in spiritual things. Yes, but really be honest with yourself. Like, you know, you don't have to wait until New Year's Eve, you know? What is not so nice in my life? And what do I actually want to change? Because, as I said again, and this is, I think, one of the last things I will say today, death is not the wonder pill. You know, at death, we cannot be in denial. We cannot be like this ostrich with our head in the sand and just think, oh, Krishna, but I'm a good person, you know. No, because Krishna, he knows you, but he will be like, I gave you all these, like, things, all these opportunities. I sent my pure devotee, Srila Prabhupada, into this world, although he didn't want to. And he established all these temples and learning centers for us to become Krishna conscious again, right? To re-spiritualize our lives again, because this is our pure inherent nature. Why didn't you do anything? Why did you sit on the couch and just watch TV? Why didn't you make use of this human life? Atato Brahma Jignasa. Now is the time to inquire. Now we have this human body, this human brain. Now we can actually ask, who's Krishna? We can actually turn to Krishna. We can actually talk to Krishna. You know? I'm thinking when I'm going like on a japa walk, I'm just thinking, wow, like the birds, they cannot chant the Maha-Mantra. You know? Yeah. Like, but we can. We can. So we should really make use of this knowledge and of this life that we've been given. And I'm just saying, like, from my own realizations, really, it's like do as much as you can, right? Not only in the months of Kartik. But my realization is that we are just so busy with our small things, with so little things, you know, and we forget there is a bigger picture. There is a much bigger picture. We know there is a bigger picture, but we're just so busy with like the small things, you know, like really, like, of course you have to do the small things in this life, and this is your duty as well, you know, to live a proper life on the battlefield. Fight, not only for yourself, fight for others. Try to engage others. Try to bring others to Krishna consciousness with the capabilities that you have, you know, but never lose touch with the bigger picture, you know, that now, and this is why I actually made the circle here, because the circle is a very beautiful symbol. Yeah, but it can also be like the cycle of like recycling, you know. Once you start your birth, you go through kindergarten, school, maybe marriage, and then you go to work, whatever, then you have a nice Labrador puppy, and then you kind of retire in Florida, and then you die, and then it starts again. Oh my goodness. And then you are in a different situation. You're maybe somewhere in Australia, not in Florida anymore, and you have to go through kindergarten again, you know, and then you die, and maybe then you end up in I don't know, in Berlin. But then you die again, and then you take birth again, if you're lucky and you're a human being in your next life. So basically it's a circle, it's a cycle. This is called samsara. Yes, and we're all in this washing machine, right? I said this so many times before, because yes, we are here for so many long years, you know. And some of us, we've been given like the super fast, intensive, hardcore wash cycle, you know, just like material suffering. Some of us, we got like the teddy treatment, but still, you know, it's just like, oh, nice, and it smells so good, you know. But we forget that we're in the washing machine, and it goes round and round and round and round. But I mean, okay, if you want this, do you want this? Do you want to be in the washing machine? Nope. Exactly. Who wants to be in the washing machine? It's good to be washed, of course. Please always wash your clothes in the washing machine. Nothing against washing machines here. But you know, this is the washing machine cycle of life, of being born, of birth, of old age, of disease, and ultimately death. And then it starts again. And we don't want this. We're intelligent enough that we don't want this. We think, oh, there must be something else to life. And yes, there is, because the real life is happening, right? And we're just preparing now in this life, right? And this doesn't mean, oh, I have to, what do I get for Krishna when I arrive? Oh, I have to now go shopping, and I have to buy things. No, it's actually the opposite. We have to get rid of things. We have to get rid of things, you know. There is some krodha in my heart. There is some anger. I cannot go with anger to Krishna. You know, I cannot be angry at Krishna. This is like foolishness. So I have to leave anger behind. How do I leave anger behind? What do I do? You know, do I go to Rossmann? Do I go to the drugstore and I choose between the, I don't know, the chlorine and the floor? What is it, like liquid? Or like, how do I actually cleanse these dirty things away from my heart? By the way, never drink this solution. But what do we do to become better people? What do we do? Oh, yes. Exactly. That's the only solution that we have. Yes, we chant. We chant the holy name. Because when we chant the holy name, we invite Krishna to actually, do all the work. He is there. He is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, right? For his super sweet, most pure devotees like Arjuna, he's actually coming personally, and he's like a chariot driver, right? And also for us, if we actually invite him into our heart, which is not so nice at the moment, but we're working on it. If we invite him into our heart, he actually comes there with like a broomstick, and he's like, okay, let's do some work here. But we have to invite him into our heart. Yes, and I hope we all invite the Lord into our heart so he can cleanse us from the anarthas that we have accumulated over so many lifetimes, you know. So please invite the Lord into your heart, and then not only open the doors and say, yeah, come in, and then just, I don't know, space out, just really be there. Because Krishna and his holy name are non-different. You know, yes, we might not realize this right now because we are very covered with our material senses. We don't even know. Let's go back to this verse and let's finish. What Krishna is saying here is, for one who has taken his birth, death is certain, and for one who is dead, birth is certain. Therefore, in the unavoidable discharge of your duty, you should not lament. Okay, and yes, we might not be on the battlefield in this crazy world war, but we are on the battlefield of life, and our duty, first and foremost, is... What is our duty? To chant, exactly. Thank you. Yes, because we're sadhakas. Yes, we're spiritual practitioners, right? This is our first identity. This is our original identity too, because it never changes. You know, in your last life, when you were like a baker in, I don't know where, in Australia or something, you were still related to Krishna, and you were still a sadhaka. Maybe you didn't realize it, but now we can actually realize it. And we can realize, yes, I am an eternal servant of Krishna. In my last life, in this life, and the next life is not going to happen because I will go back to the spiritual world. But if Krishna wants, I also take birth again. But I will be in Krishna consciousness all the time. Then I can also go to hell. And I can preach and I can help rescue all the fallen souls who came into hell. If you have the right consciousness, then it's fine. You know, don't worry. But now we don't have this consciousness, right? We suffer and we lament because we identify with something that we're actually not. We think, oh, I'm the baker. Oh, I have to go now because I have to take care of all the bread. Okay. You know, did you chant your rounds today, Mr. Baker? Chanting, you know, doing these spiritual practices is our duty, our prime duty, you know. And the thing is also, if you have like this crazy 9-to-5 job, and if you have another job that goes from 5 to 9 during the night, you know, you are probably very like entangled, it seems so, in material nature, you know, but you still don't have to lament because you can connect everything that seems so mundane, you can connect it with Krishna and therefore spiritualize it, you know. And this is what we've been given. This is very unique, you know. This is what Srila Prabhupada gave us. It's very unique. We can actually say, you know, I actually have to go now because I really have to take care of my bread, because tomorrow I have to, you know, be there in the shop and all the bread has to be ready, you know. Yes, fine. If you break the bread for Krishna, if you offer the bread, if it's prasadam, you know, and if you sell this prasadam to other people so they eventually revive their dormant Krishna consciousness, then it's fine. This is your duty. And we've all been given different duties in our life. Like, I'm now in the position of a speaker. You know, this is not my eternal position. You know, if you think about it, and this is really the last thing I will say today, that also our gurus, the swamis, yes, who are so compassionate to us that they actually accept us. If you think, wow, but he's not actually a swami. It's interesting, no? I had this realization, he's actually not a swami, you know? And some of them also say, they're like, yeah, I'm in the position of a monk, but their eternal nature is something else, you know? But now we're in this role play, so let's make the best, and let's also perform our duties correctly, which is first and foremost the chanting of the holy name, as it has been recommended by Shri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself. Yeah. So, we actually have a very nice ceremony now, because it's also the appearance day of Sri Radhakund. And Sudevi will actually say a few words. I would just like to end this class, and I would like to thank you that I can actually do this service here for you. And yeah, that we all came to the temple and that we listened to the eternal teachings of the Bhagavad Gita as it is. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishya Vrinda ki Jai. Gaura Purnanda Hari Bol. Panchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Eva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namo.